Okay, when we do these kind of problems with these conic sections, I know they look a little weird. They got the squares on the x's, the squares on the y's, maybe they don't. There's three things you need to be comfortable with. The first thing you need to be comfortable with is identifying what kind of conic section we have. The second thing you got to do is once you know the conic section, you need to be comfortable with writing it into the standard equation form. And the third thing you need to be comfortable with is being able to graph them correctly. So the first thing we want to do is, here's number 11. This is section 4.5. We need to be comfortable with determining what kind of conic section this is. The way we can determine what kind of conic section this is right away is because right here my x term is squared, my y term is not squared. Again, it is not squared. Because it is not squared, I know for a fact that this is a parabola. The parabola is the only one where both one of the terms, either the x or the y, is not squared. It will only be a linear term. So now we know that this is a parabola. We need to first write it into the standard equation for a parabola. So looking back at this slide here, we want to write as x minus h squared equals 4p y minus k. So what we want to do is we want to get the x squared term on one side and then everything else on the other side. So let's keep this x minus 1 squared on this side, and we're going to subtract this whole bad boy over to the other side here. I just subtracted that whole thing over. Now let's take a look at what we have as our original equation here. Again, our standard equation. So we now got the x squared on one side, and look at that. It looks just almost like that. We have 4p y minus k, negative 8y plus 2. We got that y plus 2 by itself. The coefficient of the y is 1, which is what we want. That's what we want. But now we need to find the p. So to find the p here, this needs to equal 4 times something. 4 times what is negative 8? That would be negative 2. And let's go ahead and write this as y minus negative 2 so we can get it exactly into that form. So again, we have x minus 1 quantity squared equals 4 times negative 2 times y minus negative 2. So again, that now looks just like the standard equation. So our vertex, I'm sorry, not our center, our vertex will be h and k. It'll be 1 and negative 2 here. Looks like that's a little hard to read. Okay, so vertex is 1 and negative 2. And then we're going to have here is our p is negative 2. So I know my focus will be at 1 and negative 2 plus negative 2. So my focus will be at 1, negative 4. Let's do the other item. Let's do our directrix. That'll be at y equals k minus p, so k again here is negative 2 minus p, which is minus negative 2. Y equals negative 2 plus 2. Y equals 0. So again, you need to be comfortable with writing it into standard form. First thing we did was we identified that it was a parabola. Again, the way I knew it was a parabola is that it was squared and this one wasn't. And the next thing I got to be comfortable with is writing it into standard form. And the last thing I got to be comfortable with now is graphing all of this stuff here. So we have a vertex of 1, negative 2, a focus of 1, negative 4, and a directrix of y equals 0. So now I'm going to go ahead and graph all this stuff here. Again, I have a vertex of 1, negative 2. So positive 1, negative 2. My focus again was 1, negative 4. and my directrix was y equals 0. So again, that's an equation, y equals 0. So I draw a dashed line right here. That's my directrix. So my parabola is going to look something like this. If you want to get exact values, all you got to do is just plug in x values and see what y's you get out.